everyone, and welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of Reputation Rebuild at Auxerre with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So we've been through the first summer transfer window. We've bought a couple of players in. The transfer dealings have gone okay, I would suggest. We've played an absolute ton of friendly matches, none of which have gone well at all. I'll show you them in a minute. It's not been good. We've chosen a formation, we've chosen a style of play. If the friendlies are anything to go by, that won't last long, but we'll have to wait and see. But today is our first league match in Ligue 2, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself, I'm not in Ligue 1 yet. Ligue 2, and we play FC Chambly. So let's get into it. So indeed, lots to go through today because we've had that summer transfer window. The first thing we will go and have a look in is the summer transfer dealings that we've made. And it looks more impressive than it is in actual fact. A lot of this was done before I came to the club. And we haven't really got many out of the club that I wanted to. There's a few in our first team squad that I just haven't found a buyer for, which is unfortunate. And they're running down contracts till next summer, basically. So we're going to have some dead wood in our squad for the first season, it looks like. In terms of what we've brought into the club, though, there is some business that we've done. Not as much as I'd like, but some. Silvestri here is the last person that the club bought in before I took over the job. So everything below has happened since then, but the majority of these are youngsters being put into our lower ranked sides, done by the club primarily, before I could really get a grip on things. But there are 3 players in here that I've bought in for the first team squad. And the first one is Julien Setou, and he is my number one choice for a right back. You remember we had an imbalance in our defence in right back. And so he has come into the club and he's going to be my starting right back. At 31 years old, he's a good age in terms of some experience, but he's got all the attributes at this level that I want him to have to be a reasonably good option. He's not going to be a long-term option, but everything that I wanted him to have he's got. Crossing and tackling is okay. Work rate is excellent. Teamwork is excellent. Stamina is excellent. Determination is excellent. So there's a good right fullback in here for me, I think. And he will play most of our games, I would suggest, because I haven't been able to find a second one. So therefore, the slightly average ones that we had in the club before will remain understudies to him. So that's the first one to tell you about. The second guy is this guy, Dylan Chambost, and he comes in as an option in the attacking midfield line because we're going to be playing 2 of them in the formation that we've gone for. A bit of a spoiler there to what we're going to, but the central attacking midfield area has got 2, and he's come in to provide a little bit of competition for places. Probably won't play too much, although I hope there is some room for improvement, especially in his physicals as we go through the season. But there are some decent enough ratings in here, but it was the best I could find really to add a bit of competition to places. And the final one that I want to tell you about, the first off actually, this guy Baba has gone into our Auxerre 2 side at 19. I think he's reasonable. I think he could improve a little bit and then maybe cause us a problem in terms of more competition for places in the striking department, but maybe not this season. The final one is a central defender. It was the other area that we lacked a little bit of quality in. And it's this guy, Romain Briguery. And I think he's going to be a good option for us. Again, 32 years old, so a little bit of experience, good leadership. Has basically come in and will be one of my leaders of the team. Good positioning, good tackling, marking, heading, strength, bravery, jumping reach, all good positive things for a central defender. A little bit more pace wouldn't go amiss, but other than that, I think he's a good option at this level of football. So he comes into the club, and they were all on free transfers. As you can see, we put a lot of our money from the transfer budget into the wage budget. just to be able to bring in some free transfers and be able to pay them the wage that they want. And I'm reasonably happy with the squad that we've now got. It's certainly big enough. It's slightly bigger than I wanted, but it's certainly big enough to cope with the pressures of playing the game through the season. It's just about how much quality there is in there. And it's still lacking in a few departments, but not too bad. So that's the first bit of business done. That's the transfer dealings. Excuse me. Now we go into the friendly matches that we played, and boy has it been difficult. Whoever set this friendly list for us, it wasn't easy. We got a couple of wins early on against some very weak opposition, let's be fair, and then we played some slightly tougher sides. Stade Rennais. We played the likes of Eindhoven in there. There's some good sides in there. And we really struggled, and we've struggled to score goals, and we've struggled to get the formation and the tactic working that I want to use, and we'll look at that in a second. But here is the evidence that we've got an awful lot of work to do. Now, what I would counter that by saying is that in Football Manager, occasionally you can have an exceptional pre-season, and immediately that you start the league, your form dips completely and you struggle to get off to a good start. Now, I'm hoping it's going to be the other way round. We played some very good sides like Eindhoven, for example, where we did get a draw out of. But that's a higher quality of team than we're going to be playing in the league, I would imagine. So hopefully that will transfer to a slightly better run of form when we hit the league, which we will be doing very soon against FC Chambly. So that's the hope, but the pre-season has been really hard in the terms of the friendlies that we've played, and it's been very difficult to find any positives out of the play that we've had so far. So what is it that we're going to be doing with this squad to put them on a football pitch in the right shape and the right structure to try and get results? Well, what I would say is that when I came into the club, there was an imbalance. There was no wide men. The right fullbacks were not good enough. There was a central defensive issue. And we've changed a couple of those in terms of bringing a better right fullback and a better central defender in. But we haven't brought the wide men in. I've decided to go narrow for this season. Now, what I want to try and do is be quite difficult to beat and then use quite a fast-paced, direct counter-attacking style. And with that in mind, we are playing a formation that I've never played before, but it was mentioned in one of the comments in my last video as to a possibility, and in the end I decided it was the best option. This is what we're going with, and it's a bit of a strange one, sort of. So there are 4 at the back, of course. We were always going to play 4 at the back, and we've got 5 or 6 strikers, so we were always going to play 2 strikers. So it meant, what do I do with this 4 in midfield? I could have gone with the diamond. I could have gone 4 across midfield. What I've decided to do is kind of create an attacking unit and a defensive unit, and we're going to try and counter-attack directly to the attacking unit from the defensive unit when we get the ball. And so this section here of 4 in the centre, 2 central defenders and 2 holding midfield players are going to be our defensive soundboard to try and win the ball back from. The full-backs are going to support a little bit, but not too much. So you might see them up into this sort of area. I don't know how often you'll see them up into this sort of area. So they're going to help to tie the play together a little bit. But we have got this block of 4 that are going to be defensive, and we've got this block of 4 that are going to be offensive. But even those, you can see that the two attacking midfielders are both on a support duty. So hopefully they won't go too high up, and they will close this gap between these 2 sections a little bit when necessary. As I say, it's been difficult to get used to this in the pre-season friendlies, which has been unfortunate. But I do think that this could work for us at the level that we're playing at. So we'll have to wait and see. But of course, if it in any way it doesn't work, I can change to the diamond. I can put 3 in midfield, an attacking player or a defensive holding player either side of those 3. I could do all sorts of things. But this is what we're going to start with and just see how we get on. So we've gone into the direct counter-attack, which lends itself to a balanced mentality. So we're going to focus as much on defending as we are on attacking. In terms of in possession, we've kept it very, very simple. There aren't a lot of instructions here, but we're playing for set pieces. We're playing a slightly more direct style and a slightly higher tempo with a standard attacking width. There's no instruction for when a possession has been lost, so we hopefully basically will do what the situation needs from us. In terms of when we receive the ball, though, of course, we are going to be counter-attacking and distributing quickly at the back to get those counter-attacks moving, but no specific instruction as to where to go with that. We're going to get stuck in, which is something I don't often do. And one last thing is I am going to raise that to standard and put that to standard as well, just to give ourselves a little bit of a chance not to sit too deep, but we can drop it back if need be. Sitting defensively narrow and more urgent on the press. And that's it. This is all the instruction that we're going to give to start off with. And we'll just have to see whether we can get off to a decent enough start. So yeah, so this is the choice that I've made. I'm going to put my eggs in this basket for a few matches at least, just to see if we can get off to a good start. And of course, if it doesn't work, we can reevaluate it. But that's where we've been through the summer. It's been quite busy. It's quite difficult to find the quality of player that I was looking for to bring into the club. And they're very few and far between for the sort of wages that we could offer. Unfortunately, there were a couple of free transfers that I really wanted and went in for, but they were asking like almost treble what my current squad were looking to get paid. So it wasn't really possible to do. Anyway, enough of all of that. The finances are good, the squad is in, the formation and the tactic is set. Now we get to go and play our first game. So let's go back into the tactics page and see what team we're putting out today. So we do have one absentee, unfortunately, from what I would consider to be my starting lineup, and it's this guy, Jordan Adeoti. And for whatever reason, he's on holiday still, and I'm not really sure why, but there you go. And he doesn't come back until 2 days from now, and we're at that back end of July already. So I'm not quite sure why he's on holiday, but he is. So he doesn't quite make it into the first team for today. But you can see that he's got some decent attributes and would normally be sitting in this side of my holding midfield roles. So instead of that, we've got Toure in there. But other than that, I think this is pretty much what I see as my best 11 in this structure to start off with. And then it's down to everybody else to try and fight their way into it, isn't it? So what that means is, and wish me luck for these, because these names I'm not used to yet at all. But what we've got today for our first game is Michel in goal with Brigeri and Suprayen in central defence, with Setou at right back, Bernard at left back, Toure and Belugu in central defensive midfield. We've got Ngando and Saki as the attacking central midfielders, and Lebihen and Sorgic as the strikers. Whew. And we've got a bench of Bar, Boto, Ndom, Chambust, Sylvestre, Dugimon and Yatara. So let's get into the first game of the season and see what happens. So I've simply gone with, come on lads, show me what you can do. It's the first game of the season, first game in charge for me of this particular club. So it's time for the players to go out on the pitch and show me what they can do. And it'll be really interesting to see how this formation works. You can see immediately the lines of two that go up through the centre of midfield. Can we get a route through to a goal-scoring opportunity, though? We're still going to get some width. There's the width from the full-backs down the right and left-hand side. A reasonable cross, but it was too deep. But the full-back on the left-hand side is free as well to pick up the loose ball. And again, we move forward. Saki back to Belogu. Into Toure and back to Belogu. And we're keeping the ball very nicely in midfield. Waiting for that chance to probably go slightly longer to see if we can open them up. Into Saki, and there's the space again for Setou down this right hand side. And we go back into midfield though. I'm very impressed with the ball, the keeping of the ball so far. It's about whether we can find a way to open them up. And we are maintaining our discipline in midfield. And there again is Sutu on the right hand side, free, and he made a mistake and he loses the ball. And there's the end of that first highlight. And just going to pause the game for a second. I was playing around in the pre-season with all of these things, and I have got it on comprehensive and not key, which is what I should have it on. I thought that was a slightly odd highlight, but there we go. You got an extra bonus one out of me. 9 minutes in, and it's Chambly that come through on goal, and they get a decent shout at an early goal, but they didn't quite have the quality on the finish. And Michel gets down nicely enough to collect the ball. But you could see that with the fullbacks pushing on a little bit, we have to be a bit careful at the back. What I might find a way to do is split those defensive midfielders and get them to work wider slightly when we've lost the ball and the fullbacks are higher up the pitch. That is something that we'll have to shape as we go along, though. But so far, it's been a little bit nothingy, hasn't it? You can see that we've got through to half-time 0-0, but the game, we've had so much of the possession, 74%, but we haven't done anything with it. We've only each had one shot at goal and one shot on target for the entire first half. So what do we do with that? I mean, we're away from home. It's an early game in the season. We aren't losing. So I think we'll say unlucky. Things just haven't gone quite right for us so far because we've been very dominant in the possession. And we're just going to move it into a positive way of play rather than the balanced, and just see if that pushes us forward slightly to make more of the chances that are potentially there if the possession works for us. And we do have a throw in down this left hand side, in our defensive unit, and we clear the ball long down the left hand side, but it doesn't quite make it up to the striker. And Chambly come back at us on the counter-attack themselves, which is the game that we're supposed to be playing, of course, soaking them in. But we win the ball there. There was a loose ball from Chambly, and we do win it. And it's Le Bihen, one of our real star players, gets a cross in, but unfortunately, we need him in the box to put them away, really. Saki on the top of the box rides a challenge, but then loses out on the ball. But again, they give it away back to Bernard in the left full-back position. Gets us enough time to turn and charge back at them. Puts a good cross in, and then the header goes slightly over the top of the bar. A bit unfortunate, really. But there's the attacking intent a little bit more on the positive way of play. 74 minutes in, time to make a couple of changes. Let's see where we got some weak links a little bit today. And you can see that we've got a couple of lower performing central defenders, but they're not really putting us under too much pressure, it feels like. We've got some nerves around, which is unfortunate. So what we're going to do is take Bihan off and put Dujimon on. He will play in as a target man, which is good. We have a target man and a poacher basically playing up top, which I like. We've then got some nerves in central defence, central midfield, should I say, in the defensive midfield from Toure. So he'll come out and Ndom comes in. And then I want to get that yellow card out and put Boto in instead of Bernard, just to protect keeping 11 players on the pitch for the last 15 minutes of the match. So we'll see whether that does anything for us as we move on through the last few minutes of the game. And what it's led to is a free kick for Chambly and an absolute sucker punch. We've been dominating the game in terms of possession, but we haven't taken chances. And there is their chance. And they did what we couldn't. And they took it. A looping free kick and a good header. But where was the defence really at that back post, challenging for that ball properly? But it looks like it's going to lead to a 1-0 loss. And I can't even get to the shouts quick enough to do anything. And we lose the opening fixture. Disappointing, very disappointing. I thought that the style of play that we had worked to a point, but it wasn't good enough to get us the goal that we needed to put the pressure on them. And they countered in the end. They sucker punched us, should I say, towards the end. And they got the goal that we couldn't. And we lose 1-0 in the opening day. Disappointing, away from home. Okay, challenging. Let's go and analyse the performance and see where we did well and maybe not so well. So we're going to start on the summary page, and you can see we had 6 shots at goal, 4 for them, 4 on target, 3 for them, 66% possession to their 34, and we couldn't make it count. We had a higher average rating by 0.1 on the average rating through the team than they did. So I think we were a little bit unlucky. I think that's the first thing to say, is that whilst we lost the game, and that's unfortunate, it was a bit unlucky. The analysis page, let's go and have a look and see what we did. Lots of central midfield possession, but maybe not the drive through to get our chances. Maybe that's something we have to look at as we go. We worked through the side quite well. We'll probably put it more central as the season wears on, but I just wanted to see what happens if you open up the play a little bit today. And you can see that they attempted to work down the sides of us because of where we are so strong. And when we got the ball, we had an awful lot of play in this attacking midfield area. We just couldn't quite feed it through to the strikers, it felt like, to properly give them the chances that they needed. They were all longer distance attempts, maybe. We'll go and check that out in a second on the shots that we took. But overall, I mean, we got a reasonably good rating for Belogu, who is our central defensive midfield player. So he was obviously one of the stars of the show, supporting the play from that defensive midfield area. Defensively, though, a little bit weak from Suprayan. So some things to work on there. Let's go in and have a look at the sort of more key areas for the day, and we'll look at the shots that we took that were off target. Let's go to the Auxerre ones only. So these are the shots that we had. We did have a few in that penalty box. And what were they? Saved or off target? They were saved by the goalkeeper. So he had a reasonable few moments there. The shots off target and blocked. A long shot from outside the box and one inside again. So we were a little bit unlucky, it feels like, on the shots today. On another day, maybe we could have got an earlier goal and caused them some problems. These are the intercepted passes that we had, in terms of they're not reaching our targets that we're trying to get to. And we need to shrink that number down as much as we can. But I don't think that's too bad for an opening day. And then we'll look at the out of play, and that is pretty good, to be honest. It shows that we're playing more central, so we're not trying to sweep it to the wide men and getting it wrong. And occasionally, obviously, we're going to have to clear our lines, so that's what some of these are. So I don't think that's too bad, to be honest. I'm quite impressed by the accuracy of that. Let's go and have a look at the tackles that we won. Some good fullback kind of area tackles, which is positive. And you can see that there are some central defensive midfielders going out there. Number 8, for example, and number 14 over here. Number 8, who is that? That is Belogu. So he's our central defensive midfielder, and he's coming out and supporting this play quite a lot in terms of getting the challenges in. So that's good. I like that. The challenges that we lost, okay, that happens. No key challenges there at all. Crosses in. Let's have a look at some crosses, because we only have the fullbacks. Let's have a look at the completed crosses. They did okay, didn't they, the 2 fullbacks? Number 3 and 13 on this left-hand side, and number 2 specifically on the far side. I think that's not too bad for a starting point. The intercepted ones, we absolutely battered them with crosses, but they were able to deal with it. So maybe we need to think about how we're crossing the ball into what sort of striker that we've got. I'll have to look at that in the tactics. But some interesting stuff to gain from this particular match. I don't think we did badly, even though we unfortunately were on the wrong side of a defeat. But that's basically going to do it. So we'll just go into the team talk, and we'll say unlucky for today. I can't fault any of performance. It was just one of those days. We'll leave it at that, just to keep the motivation and the happiness high. And then we'll come out of the match day environment, see that we're going to be placed towards the bottom of the table from that loss after the first game, but that's okay. Couple of players making debuts, so there's a lot of players that have to get used to playing with each other. But that's going to basically do it. So let's go into the schedule again and see whether we can look for our next opponent for next episode. So here we are back on the schedule page, and I'm going to basically play through August and get to the end of August to play Lens, and that's the game that we're going to come back for next episode, and we'll have a few games to have played specifically at home, which is hopeful to get some points from, and get a little bit of momentum hopefully from this awful run of form that the pre-season has led into the season with. So we've got some work to do. There's some changes that I want to make, as we said in the analysis, about how we're crossing the ball in and who we're crossing it to, and all sorts of other little details that we'll get used to as we go through the series. But so far, it's been a bit challenging. It's a new setup, new players, haven't quite got used to playing together yet. But let's see if these home matches can provide us with some points. So come back next episode for Lens in the Ligue 2, and we'll see if we're on a better footing by that point. Thanks so much for joining me today, though, for this first real look into a proper match in the series, and a proper chance to see the tactic and the formation at work. It's going to be a work in progress for a while, but let's see if we can make it work and do something a bit different than the normal sort of 4-2-3-1. Anyway, that'll do it for today. Thank you for joining me. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button for me. Helps me get seen by lots of other people. If you're new to the channel, welcome along because of the new series you've just joined us. It's great to have you. The more the merrier in my United City community, as I say. So make yourself known to me in the comments below if you're new. If you're not new, make yourself known in the comments to me as well, and just share the love in the comments and get involved in the series. Let me know what you think. Until next time though, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.